Hey everyone, it is Katie from Moonflower Moments. So I'm hopping on here today to do a video response to Tarot Magpie and their video Most Neglected Decks of 2024. And this is a pretty important topic for me in particular because I don't have a lot of storage space. So what I own, I really want to make sure that I have the chance to use. So I thought I would go on camera with y'all today and go through the decks that are most neglected of 2024. And then for some of them, brainstorm different ways that I can integrate them in my practice. So I really want to try to reconcile these decks and find a way to use them. So the first one that I'm going to show is one of the saddest decks that I'm going to show today, and that is going to be Tabula Mundi. Here are the backs of them. Aren't they gorgeous? So I got Tabula Mundi, I think within the first year of reading tarot, and I was really super psyched to get it. So I think this was one of my pricier indie decks that I had first purchased. And so for me, I had waited a really long time for this. I watched a lot of walkthroughs, and for me, what drew me to it was the artwork. So other than the Thoth itself, which I didn't even bother including on this list because I just keep that as like a study tool, like the OG Thoth. This is the only Thoth deck that I own, and I do really feel like it is the Thoth deck for me. But this is a deck that I used significantly less this year than I have in previous years. I think part of the reason why for that is I tend to categorize my decks into 3 different drawers. I have a nature drawer, I have a fiery historical decks drawer, and then I have like a watery air drawer. So there's a little bit of a differentiation for me of like where I place my decks. And in the last year, I really discovered that I love historical decks and fiery decks. And so while I know that this really isn't a historical deck per se, I started reaching for those decks in instances when I would reach for this one. I also have a problem with this deck because I did accidentally buy the smaller size. This is like always happens to me all the time, is that I buy the smaller sizes of decks instead of the larger ones. I'm just like not paying attention sometimes. And so when it came in, I was like, oh, it's super tiny, like that's cute. But because of its size, I always want to use this as like a secondary row instead of the primary row. So for example, I do oftentimes read tarot on tarot quite a lot. And so I put like the larger tarot card on top and then I put the smaller tarot card on bottom. I do that a lot with Barbara Walker too, which is what you're going to see in a few minutes. I think she's on this list. And I think that's part of the issue for me, is that this deck is way too complex for me to be treating it as if it's a secondary character. Or if I am going to treat it as a secondary character, I have to reconcile with myself and say, you know what, it kind of makes sense that I'm treating it as a secondary character. It does tend to, I have the extra cards mixed in. It does tend to have keywords because this is a Thoth-based deck, so it makes sense that this would be kind of secondary in nature and would go on the bottom because the keywords can give more insight to the deck that's going on at the top. But if you can tell from my language, I think my problem with not reaching for this is kind of like self-created. I think that like I said to myself, it's small, so it has to be like secondary row. And while I did read like that a lot at the beginning of the year, like the Tarot and Tarot, I still read Tarot and Tarot. I'm not doing like 3 cards on the top and 3 cards on the bottom with like 2 different decks as much as I did in the first couple of years of me reading. So like that could also be it, is that my reading style has kind of changed where I'm not doing like these essentially like 3 card spreads but with like 2 rows with 2 different decks anymore. I'm doing like more freestyle readings. So I think that this is giving me a little bit more insight into why I haven't reached for this deck. I'm still not sure how this is going to fit. I know for a fact that I don't want to do a massive deep dive into Thoth or really into anything. I haven't had the brain power this year with work being as hectic as it has been for me to get into the juicy, meaty stuff. I want to save that for myself when I'm feeling a little bit more inspired and ready for it. So other than studying it, I can't really think of a different way for me to bond with it, except for perhaps like pulling it for daily pulls. I think I definitely have the mental space to sink into this beautiful symbology and to learn a little bit more about astrology. I do have like a pretty good basis of astrology and how it works with tarot, but I think that this is a deck that like demands more attention, and it might be better if I just serve it as like a daily card pull. So I don't know, I feel like I just spent like a really long time talking about one deck, but if you have this deck and you love it and you cherish it, let me know, because like I still love it and I still cherish it, but where does it fit? I'm still trying to figure out, like, I knew where this fit in 2022 Katie and 2023 Katie. 2024, I'm not sure where. So y'all let me know. If this is a deck you have, let me know. Alrighty, next is going to be another deck that I really love and respect, and that is going to be Naturescapes. So this is the back side of it. I'm pretty sure that this deck made it onto Tarot Magpie's list as well. I think we actually had like 4 decks in common, and then I ended up taking a couple off my channel, not my channel, off of my list because I didn't want to be too samey. So Naturescapes. I got this deck in and I really felt like I needed to have 40 copies of it. It felt like instant love to me. I took it outside. I felt deeply connected with it. The problem is that the artwork has like smudged off. So this cardstock is not super high cardstock. It is from Make Playing Cards, and it's just like very, you can see like it has like a really bad bend to it. And I'm not usually a cardstock snob. I don't know why I am with this, but I think it's because it's photographs. So hopefully my camera is picking it up, but you can actually see where like the photograph is starting to rub off on the side here. I know there are different cards that have it worse than that one, but I just feel like there are whole like chunks of the artwork missing because the cards have started to smudge off. You can really see it at the bottom here. And it's not just like the card being dirty, but like it's literally the card smudging off. I don't know, and I know that's like such a small thing. Like usually I don't worry about my decks being like distressed or anything like that, but every time I pull out this deck, I notice it. And I don't know why it bothers me with this deck. It is the only deck in the world that I'm like, oh man, I cannot do it with this cardstock. And I think it's because the deck is so beautiful and so cleverly created and wonderful that I don't, oop, give me a second. Okay, that probably wasn't too long for you. I can't kick him out because he meows at the door. So anyway, I think it's just like the tactile experience of working with this deck it doesn't do it for me, y'all. It doesn't do it for me. Tell me to get out of my head. I want you to tell me, Katie, get out of your head, use the damn deck. You like the damn deck. Like, I do, but see, I'm even saying like I can't say that I love it. And it was like day one that I noticed that like it was chipping really badly and things like that. And I don't know why I'm being so superficial with this deck. Is it superficial to care about that? I don't know. I'm not sure where I stand on it because I look at the 7 of Wands and this embodies everything that a 7 of Wands means to me. The uncertainty, the fear of like having to keep fighting what's going to be around the corner next. I get a lot of intuitive hits from it. Now, I did use this a couple of times for Tarot Tuesday on my Instagram channel where I offer free readings. I try to do it every Tuesday, but sometimes I get bogged down. So it happens like probably at least like 2 times a month. And I found that people that are like non-tarot people really relate well to this imagery. So I think that that's where this deck is going to slot in for me, is that I'm not really using it much for myself, but I think that I will use it for clients. Now, I do have a list. I do have another deck in this basket that I like to use with this, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Okay, so the deck that I like to use with Naturescapes is going to be my Animal and Botanical. And when I say I like to use it, I mean that I used it a couple times and I thought that it was an agreeable match, but I also really neglected Animal and Botanical this year. So yeah. I like how these guys look together. I really do. And I think it's because it almost feels like Naturescapes to me is kind of the environment and then the animal is kind of like the supported element. So when I play with these as a pair, I kind of get excited because I imagine that this creature is existing in this environment. And as you can see, the juxtaposition of that sometimes is like really wild and crazy and doesn't make sense at all. And so there's a little bit of fun to that. Like it almost seems like Animal and Botanical is like drawn in like this naturey, kind of like fantasy-esque style, whereas this is like harsh kind of reality through the photographs. So I think that it kind of adds a little bit of whimsy to something that is desolate and sometimes a little bit barren. I don't think that overall like Naturescapes is a desolate or barren deck. I think Tarot Landscapes, which is a new deck that I got this year, is more barren than like Naturescapes. But like I think that the fact that this is like a true photograph whereas this is illustrative gives this a much harder feel. And so it's almost as if Animal and Botanical softens this up a little bit and makes it a little bit more like story-like. And you can really see it here. Like I can see like this bunny kind of crossing over like these different roots and kind of jumping around and things like that. So maybe that's what I need to do, is that I know that these decks have read well for each other when I've done it before, and I could set it up to where it's almost like this is reality and this is kind of fantasy. I do really enjoy playing with those concepts of like reality versus perception with my Under the Oak Tarot and my Tarot Landscapes. So it could be that I need to go ahead and maybe apply that spread to this as well. I've been really enjoying a lot of 2-card spreads, but with 2 different decks. Okay, I think I've figured it out. I just need to give Animal and Botanical a shot. I don't care for the guidebook of this deck. I think that the creator and the guidebook writer were 2 different people, and I think that there's some disconnect between the imagery and what is written, and I think that's my fault. But like, do I really need the guidebook for this? Like, this looks like a 4 of Cups, guys. Like, he is like sitting in like this swamp. He's almost kind of like floating around. He doesn't look like he's going anywhere. I mean, that looks like the 4 of Cups to me. So I think that even though I don't know many of these animals, I could still probably kind of figure out Tower, 5 of Pentacles. Boom, got it. Maybe I don't need to use the guidebook with it. Maybe I don't have to know all of the creatures. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. So this was Naturescapes with Animal and Botanical. All right, next. And I'm just kind of grabbing decks at random at this point. The next one is going to be a deck that I bought over the summer. It was actually really close to my birthday, and I really haven't used it. So that would be my Tarot of St. Petersburg. I did edge the deck. You can see like the edges are a little dirty because I have it in like a really fluffy bag, but it doesn't come edged like that. I bought this deck out of FOMO. Why did I think this deck was going out of print? I don't know if I heard someone say it on TarotTube. I don't know if I thought to myself, well, this deck looks like it might go out of print. I don't know why the hell I thought this deck was going to go out of print. And like, even when my husband asked me, he was like, why did you think this deck was going out of print? I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was going out of print. Why did I think it was going out of print? I have no idea. But I think I convinced myself that because it was an older US Games deck, I didn't want to miss out on it. So I can confidently come out here and say that I think that this deck was totally purchased with FOMO. And I think that's important to recognize and important to see, because I got it in and I like this. Like, this is very much my style, but the problem is that I don't read with a lot of darker decks. This is darker. I don't mean like darker in themes, but like literally it's dark. Like, it has a black background. I don't read with a lot of decks that have that. And when I do read with it, it's much more during the winter months. But I live in Louisiana and today was 75 degrees and it's the middle of December. So I don't have a lot of opportunities to reach for this when I want. Now, I can sometimes use this at night. I think that that is the perfect time to use it because it's nighttime and I'm reading by candlelight and by lamplight most of the time. So there are times when I think that I could use it, but I always reach for other stuff. This is a deck that consistently does not get used. I put it on my side table and I think to myself, okay, I'm going to use Tarot of St. Petersburg, and I don't use it. So I can't really fully articulate why, other than the fact that, I mean, I bought it during summer, so it was not the right time to buy it. I bought it probably for not the best reason, which was FOMO. And then I also don't really get to use decks that are darker like this as often as I want because, you know, I feel like this is a part of my collection that is probably like over bloated to begin with. So y'all tell me about Tarot of St. Petersburg. Do you find it to be like a good personal reader? Do you find it to be a good professional reader? What do you pair this with? When do you use this? What time of year do you use this? I just want to hear more about more people using this deck. I probably should go watch a couple walkthroughs of it to get people's opinions on it, because sometimes when you hear walkthroughs, you start to notice things that you might have not noticed before. I don't think that this deck is going to go anywhere. I just know for 100% fact I bought it in July and I have not given it its fair shot. So we need to be friends, and that's okay. Like, I can have decks in my collection that haven't gotten much use because it's not the year for them. There were a lot of decks this year that I had bought that I really didn't use the year that I bought them, but then all of a sudden this year I started using them. So I'm not tired of this one. I'm not frustrated with this one. It'll have its time, but if this is something that you use, tell me all about it. I want to know all about it. All right, so that was Tarot St. Petersburg, and I like my little bag I have for it too. It's cute. It's a cute little bag. I feel like it fits. It's a little vintagey of style bag. All right, next. All right, next is going to be the Golden Tarot of Botticelli. This is a Lo Scarabeo deck. I did edge mine in black, which I really think is how it should come. I like edging decks in black. I think that this was a neglected deck because I bought it at the wrong time of the year as well, which is important for me to recognize. I think when I first started reading tarot, I'm like, I'm not a seasonal tarot reader. And then you start learning a little bit more about the Wheel of the Year. You start like seeing all of these summer deck videos. And I know that I'm just as a part of that as everyone else here on YouTube. But I think that you kind of fall into a rhythm to where you're like, oh, I do have summer decks and I do have winter decks. And I think that that's normal, right? Like as humans, we like to categorize and we like to make sense of things. But I bought this deck at the end of spring. And I think that I bought it at the end of spring because I was missing spring. It had gotten really hot in Louisiana and I was missing some of those 70-degree days. And so I told myself, you know what, I think that this is a spring deck. And since I bought it in the summer and then shortly after, it was like 90, 100, 105 degrees, I was like, I don't want to reach for this, because to me, like, this just felt a little bit too clean, especially here in the star. I mean, the star is always like a clean, pretty image, but we have these tiny little flowers at the bottom. They look like they're just blossoming. They look like they're just blooming. We haven't had the full experience of these flowers coming to light yet. And so it's definitely spring. It's definitely spring. And my brain can't get over that. Now, I have seen people claim that this is like a fall deck for them. So I believe Robin Reflections in her Decks for Descents, she included this as a fall deck because it is gilded. So it has like this gold gilding, and I do love a gold shiny deck. I love decks that have gilding. And Robin had basically said that because it was the fall, like the bling just reminded her of that time of year. And I was like, Robin, thank you so much for saying that, because I think that that's going to be the key for me using this deck in this now. So I think I'm just going to wait this one out. I don't think that it's been calling to me because it hasn't matched my natural environment, and I like my decks to do that. And so we're going to wait it out. We're going to see. But I think this deck is damn gorgeous. When I have read with it, I've gotten some pretty interesting intuitive reads. So we're just waiting it out. We're waiting it out. It's neglected, but I don't think it's going to be homeless, or rather rehomed. I think it's going to stay with me. I was trying to say, never mind. All right, another neglected deck. And I like this deck. So this is one I need to reconcile with. It is going to be my Fallen Angels. I love the backs. Look how beautiful. I need to go ahead and edge this. So if anyone has any suggestions of what color you would edge it, I would like to know. So here we go. This is the Fallen Angels Oracle, and it is very shadowy. This deck kicks my ass a little bit, so I'm just going to let you read the keywords as I'm going through. We have leadership, that's fine. Upheaval, ooh, okay. Okay, big dragon boy. Harmony, well, that's nice. I like that. Conflict, ooh. Celebration, I guess that's fine. Mystery, maybe it's a little bit more balanced than I give it credit for. Take advice. Transformation, he's all right. We don't mind transformation. Inspiration, why am I getting all the positive cards? Most of the times when my deck cooperates, and it definitely tries to show the cards that prove my point, but maybe I'm just looking for the cards that confirm my viewpoint. So a little bit of confirmation bias. But this deck kicks my ass. Like when I see exhaustion, I'm like, yeah, I am exhausted. I'm exhausted of getting my ass kicked by you. And that's the honest to God truth. I'm pretty tired right now anyway, guys. So you're getting a full unfiltered Katie. But I don't mind getting my ass kicked. But this is not a deck that I'm like, ooh, I want to sit down and read with Fallen Angels Oracle, because it tends to be a little bit blunt. And let me put it this way. I have rose-colored glasses. Without a doubt, I have rose-tinted glasses. I'm an optimist. I look at the world as opportunities to spread love and light and all of the shit. And I will get in the trenches with you. I will get in the gutters with you. But I think when it comes down to it, I use tarot so often to shape my day in the morning with daily pools. And I ask myself, you know, what can I learn? And then I hear like words like seduction and choice. Choice is fine. Once again, deception. There we go. Deception. And so I pull this for like a daily card and I'm like, deception, what's going on? How am I being deceived? What is going on here? And then I look for it throughout the day and it almost becomes like my reality. So I don't think I'm using this deck right. I do not need to be using this deck for willy-nilly little daily draws. I am disrespecting the deck with that. It is way more powerful. It is an incredibly powerful predictive reader. I need to use this deck when I need the truth. And I know that I've said that on videos before that this is deck that I go to for that, and I really just need to be okay with not reaching for it until I need those hard truths. This is a deck that might not need to come out, but every 4 to 5 months when I need to get my ass kicked. But for the rest of the time, I don't need to take this deck into my possession and just like shuffle it and play with it willy-nilly. I think that I'm okay with this being a deck, kind of like Somnia, that I don't use more than a couple of times a year. But it was a bit of a neglected deck. Is it neglected if you're saying that you're okay with using it a couple times a year? I don't know. I felt like it was neglected, but I think through my narration, I have just convinced myself maybe I've used this deck the correct amount of times. We'll see. So y'all please tell me what you use this deck with if you have it. I love the moody colors of it. It pairs really well with decks like Green Witch, which I know is a little bit strange because Green Witch is like a happier deck, but I find that it helps balance it out a little bit because Green Witch can be a little bit on the lighter side for me. So I do pair it with that, but if y'all have other pairings for it, let me know because I do love a moody palette. This is very within my realm, and I have a lot of decks that are in a moody palette like this too. All right, so Fallen Angels. Neglected, maybe not neglected. I don't know. What's your category for neglected? We'll see. I could probably take that one out, but we're just going to roll with it. I probably need to keep that in there so next year when I'm revisiting this, I'll look at that and be like, you know what? It's not neglected, Katie. It's used at the right time. Now, the next one really is neglected. This is the first deck that I ever bought without watching a flip through, walkthrough, whatever. And it's my Goblin Market. I don't know what the fuck to do with my Goblin Market, y'all. I don't know what to do with my Goblin Market. This deck is not the strongest reader for me. This deck is a little bit canaille, as we say in South Louisiana. It doesn't give you straight answers. And I'm okay with kind of digging with a deck and trying to kind of go on journeys with it. I'm okay with decks that don't give me like a direct answer per se, but there are some interpretations of these cards that are just really, really unusual. And they don't fit anything with numerology, and they don't fit anything really with astrology, and they don't fit anything with like traditional art of US or Thoth or Marseille or anything that I can see. There's some cards in this deck where the guidebook meanings, I don't know where the creator's getting them. And I think that that's a pet peeve for me, that I have to be able to see that the meanings are coming from something and somewhere. I don't care what system it is. I'm pretty well versed in a lot of systems. I don't want to say that like I know everything in that kind of way, but like I feel like I know enough about basics to where I can say, oh, okay, I can reconcile with this deck because it's following this. Not necessarily the case with this. So perhaps I need to use it as an oracle deck. I have really seriously contemplated that because I like how the deck looks. I like the deck's vibes. I like our little fruit in the corner here. I like that it's a little canaille. I might possibly need to number these cards and make an oracle deck out of them. Because, for example, this is the moon card, right? Number 18. The moonlit spell. She looks very victorious. She looks like she's having a party. And I think the guidebook had talked about basically, I don't know, I went to go look in the guidebook. Maybe I made something up about it like being that a fairy is going through this world and like the fairy is the fool, or maybe it's like the goblin is the fool, or maybe you are the fool since this is based off of the poem The Goblin's Market. I don't know, guys. I'm confused and I'm pretty tired. So I think we'll leave it there. The deck confuses the hell out of me. And so I think that I need to make an oracle deck out of it because some of these things, like, yeah, I can definitely see 3 of Cups for, that looks like 3 of Cups to me. 6 of Cups, I could even argue that this is a 6 of Cups because, you know, he's jetting forward, but yet he still has all of these cups in the past that are like holding him behind, or, you know, these things that are in this past that are making him who he is today. I can pull some meaning out of that, but it doesn't come naturally to me. And sometimes when I look at a card, and this is 9 of Platters, right? So this is 9 of Pentacles. When I look at this, to me it looks like not necessarily abundance and relishing in what you have and all of that 9 of Pentacles stuff. It looks like a deliberate attempt by this guy to create chaos. Like, to me, this looks like chaos. It looks like I am being like conniving, and I'm like being mischievous, and I want to create chaos. And so that would be my keyword for this. And so maybe it doesn't need to be based in tarot at all. Maybe I'm just meant to read these cards intuitively, but I will admit wholeheartedly, and y'all don't kill me, please don't kill me, I am not a fan of John Matthews' work. And I think I realized that as I was studying the Wildwood Tarot, because a lot of the things that I'm saying about this deck, I also feel about that one. And yes, I know that is a hot take. I know that is controversial. I like Wildwood Tarot way more than I like this one. But I don't know. That's my hot take. That's my hot take. I'm going to leave it there. Maybe Wildwood Tarot is my John Matthews deck. Maybe that's what it's meant to be. Or maybe this is meant to be an Oracle deck. Or maybe it's meant for me to sell. I mean, I kind of am at that point with that. We'll see. We'll see. So, Goblin Market, I don't know if I feel any better about it, but it was good to generate the idea of maybe an Oracle deck. I don't think I've thought about that before. And like, look at this card. Like, I love that the 8 of Cups, we have 8 here. So they try to integrate the number into the card for all the minors. I don't think that I really showed that well enough. Here we go, 6. So, I mean, I guess I can kind of see the 6 because it's right here. And they do talk about that in the guidebook, but other than that, I don't know if the artwork was, I don't know if there was any goal for the artwork other than to have the numbers represented. But I feel like if I wanted that, I would get the other deck. Do you know what other deck I'm talking about? What is that deck? Katie Flowers used to show it a lot on her channel that had like the numbers, and it's an old US Games deck. I don't know, guys. The big fat numbers. It is what it is. All right, next. Whew. I put this one in my December decks video because I had intentions of using it this month, and that's White Sage. And December's not open yet. Not over yet. There's a possibility that I will use this. I have used this deck at bars. I've used this deck to read for just random people in my life. This is my little purse tarot. And maybe that's where it needs to be. And maybe that's where it needs to stay. I probably need to stop trying to make this into like my #1 deck, because I feel like I should love this drastically. But the honest to God truth is these pastel colors I really only reach for during this time of year, during winter. But I have other kind of more exciting decks to play with. Like, I have the Dinosaur Marseille, and I have the Architect's Tarot, and I have Tarot of the Dead, and I have Somnia, and I have other decks that are a little bit more of like this muted color palette that I just like more. I'll be honest. And so I think that I need to use this one when I'm out on adventures. I need to put it in my purse. I need to be happy where if someone says, hey, do you do tarot? Like, can I get a tarot reading? Always just having a little White Sage near me, because I think that a lot of times when I read for people, they are new to tarot and they just happen to find out that I read and they're like, oh, that's so cool. Can I get a reading? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And there is nothing confrontational about this card. Like, this is your Emperor, y'all. Like, he's the scariest card in the deck. And so I think that this is a great deck to read for with beginners. I really do get a lot from these pips. I think that they are extremely intentional pips. And I need to stop trying to make this into like my #1 deck. I need to be happy with it where it is. It's a very good purse reader, and see it as that. That's where I am. Maybe it'll be a car, like a car reader. I can see that, just having like a little deck on hand, because she's cute. Like, I'm not getting rid of her. I think I wanted this deck to be my best friend, and then it didn't happen and I got discouraged, but like, we're still friendly. Like, I still want to hang out with this deck. So maybe it'll be a car tarot. That would be good, because sometimes I don't always bring my purse places, but it could be a little car tarot. Oh, crazy, crazy. I'm saying crazy that I just said car tarot, but maybe that's not crazy. That seems pretty normal to me. I mean, hell, you always got to be prepared for a reading, I feel. All right, next. Next is super similar in the sense of this was a purse oracle, and that's my Secret Garden. I love the box. This is the only deck that I own that I keep the box as well as the cards. I love the little back. She's super cute, y'all. And I know she's simple. She's really cute, but like, I like the fact that we have like the artwork depicted down here. So you'll notice the keyword actually matches the bottom. So beginnings, we have this tiny little plant. She was cheap, y'all. She was like maybe $8. I'm pretty sure I got her with like Amazon reward points too. So she was basically free, right? Credit card points, it's free. That's my logic anyway. So I like it. Look at a little rose for adapt. Breathe, and we have like this nice little cup of chocolate or coffee. Surprises, venture down the rabbit hole. Guys, this is really cute. This is a true neglected deck for me. Why don't I use this? Hell, I could use this with White Sage and I probably would be fine. I don't like this card in here, and I think I need to take it out because I really like what most people consider to be weeds in the garden, because most of the time they are native plants. I mean, I do have some things that are not natives that are weedy, and I weed them out, but I don't like the key phrase with this. I need to take that one out. All right, I'm taking that one out right now. Self-care, patience, wait for the fruit to ripen. It doesn't have a lot of cards, or else I would use this for, I've been doing Tarot Advent, and I've been using Lucille Clifton's Divining Poets deck. Well, it's actually the Divining Poets deck of Lucille Clifton, along with Tarot of the Enchanted Forest. And I thought about doing Lisa Pepez's like month ahead readings with the envelopes, where she basically pulls like a card at the beginning of the year for her wheel of the year for each month and sticks it in an envelope, and then only looks at like the card of the month when it comes time like for her to open the envelope on the 1st. I thought about doing it with this deck, but I don't think that there are enough cards. So let me actually see. So it has 40 cards and I've taken 3 of them out. I mean, I guess that's acceptable. I don't know. She's cute. She's really stinking cute. I need to use her. I might end up using her for like the card of the month, like I said. I like it when my cards have like a phrase on it. Like, I find that to be really juicy for the month, because I oftentimes do end up seeing that phrase like repeated, or I don't know, I'm more tuned into words than I am to imagery. So I think that could be like a good like monthly deck. All right, next is what I consider to be one of my only collage decks. I think I technically have a couple, but like this is like true collage, and that's going to be my Voyager Tarot. Neglected deck of 2024. I got this over the summer, and it did actually see quite a lot of airtime on my channel because I was excited about it. I was like, ooh, am I the cool girl that finally gets to like play with like collage decks? Like, is that who I am now? Spoiler, I don't think I'm that girl. Or maybe I am that girl, but it's not with this deck. I like this deck. I actually was able to get, there is a separate book of poetry written by someone. I'll leave it in the link in the description box below. And they're not the creator of this deck, or maybe they are the creator of this deck. I'm doing a terrible job filming today. I'm so sorry, y'all. I promise to definitely leave all the information down below. But someone wrote like a separate book of poetry about this deck, and they literally wrote poems after every card. And so when I was using the deck over the summer, I was reading those poems, and some of them are like super juicy. They're like super meaty, like they're super good. I like it a lot. I think to me, I experienced something over the summer that happened to really like overstimulate me for a little while, and this deck was just too much. And so I think I bought this about like 2 to 3 weeks before that event happened. I'm trying to be like vague for a reason here, so if y'all will bear with me. And I think that this deck was just too much for me at that time. But it's not too much for me right now. Like, I like the color. I like that there's like a little bit of pop and there's lots of things going on. This feels very reassuring to me as a forever summer baby, that there's still action and like busyness and beauty. And I think I can use this deck during the winter, especially when I'm feeling a little bit run down and I need that quick burst. So I think that this does have a home, especially that I really, really, really enjoy the poetry book that was written as a pair with this deck. More so even than the original guidebook, I really like the poetry book. So I need to dip my toes into that, and maybe perhaps I can like use this deck itself to help me write poetry. This year I really want to expand my poetry style, and so I could pull a card and be like, ooh, fortune, ooh, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Well, first off, of course I would write the poem about the butterfly. Like, come on, like who am I would write about the butterfly. But then I also see this airplane down here, and I think that that's cool for fortune, right? Because it could suggest like moving on, so I could write a poem about that. So it might be an opportunity for me to try to push my creative voice a little bit further and write about subjects that I don't usually write about. Like this crack here. I see this crack with this lightning coming through. It's cool. And like, I don't mind that this is a different system, because like I said before, what bothered me about Goblin Market is that I can't discern the system. And based off the tiny guidebook, I'm not sure if there is, but the guidebook for this is a chunk. Like, it is chonky. Like, it's like 3 to 4 pages per card, and like the guidebook is huge. So it's like, okay, like I might not understand where you're getting all of this, but I know that you understand where you're getting this, or you understand that at least you got that, and I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. So like, as long as you can give me enough information, I can probably bullshit it enough in my head to reconcile it and make it work. So no disrespect to Voyager. I mean, I think Voyager lives up to its name. It's the Voyager Tarot. Like, we're going on a voyage, and it's going to show you some random shit, and some of the keywords are not going to make sense, and you're not going to be able to reconcile with traditional tarot, and that's totally acceptable, like I said, because I think the creator knew where they were going with it. I don't know. That's my hot take. I'm a little spicy tonight. So Voyager Tarot is a neglected deck. We're going to see. What did I say about that one? I'm going to maybe write some poetry with it. I'm good with that. It'll come around. I have a lot of respect for the deck, so it's not going anywhere. I know that it'll have its day. All right, guys, we're down to the last two. Ooh, we got Barbara Walker, y'all. Every time I come on the channel, I refer to her as the salty grandma, spicy grandma. I definitely think I picked that up from Dawn Michelle, but like, I mean, she was right, y'all. She is spicy. She is definitely salty. She has some attitude. And I feel like it's appropriate to personify her because she is her own self. She is her own woman. And I think that to reconcile with this, I think I need to study this deck. And I know that I had said earlier that I'm not really in a study mood, and like, that's totally true. But I need to go ahead and bite the bullet and buy a copy of the larger guidebook of this deck, the one that is out of print. And I think it can be like a little pricey, but I have seen it a couple times for like $30, and then I've also seen it for like $70. So I don't know, if you have that guidebook, let me know how much it's actually worth and how much y'all usually see it going for, because I don't want to overpay for it when I'm already kind of on the fence about this deck anyway. But I think that I need to buy the guidebook, and I think I want to study this one. I think I do. I'm not sure if I agree with everything that's in this deck. I'm not sure if I agree with a lot of what I've heard about Barbara Walker, in the sense of like where she's getting a lot of her information, like her quality of information. But I think that she has a viewpoint that I need to listen to. I think that it's worth hearing her out, and I want to give this deck a shot. But I think I need to give it like a proper shot. Like, I need to see her as like, hey girl, I see you as a valid partner in my tarot journey. What can I learn from you? Not just like, hey girl, you're kind of a salty bitch. That's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at. So hopefully y'all aren't too offended by me saying that, but that's where she's been. It's like, ooh, when I want to get my ass kicked, let's grab Barbara Walker. And that's fine. I can still respect a woman who can kick my ass. But I also feel like saying that's all she is it's not doing my relationship justice with her when I think that there's more for me to learn from her. And I like the artwork. This is another one, however, that falls into the trap of it is definitively, because it's so simple, a deck for the winter months for me, especially with like these big borders. So like chopping off these borders and just leaving the bottom and the top. I don't know if I've seen someone do like a mod with that, but I think that that would be beneficial. I think that that would be helpful, and perhaps getting rid of some of like the white. So I see it as more than like a winter deck. And like I said, guys, winter decks don't get a lot of use for me. I can also say this is a Halloween deck, but I can only have so many of those. I'm seasonal in the sense of like weather with my decks, but not so much with like holidays. And I feel like I have like the like Halloween locked down pretty heavily with like the Vampire Tarot, because I like that deck like significantly more than this one. There's a ramble. I need to study this one. She was neglected. I can say I probably only used her 2 times. And I think before that, maybe 3 times. I don't think I've used this deck more than maybe 8 times in my life. And she's convenient, y'all. She's in a tin. But, maybe I need her. Wait. Maybe I need them both. Hear me out. Maybe I need them both for car tarots. Maybe I need to keep both of them, because white sage is for our beginners, like for our softer people who need, not necessarily softer people. Let me back up. Our people who are new to tarot and might want a softer reading. Barbara Walker is, you found out your boyfriend's cheating on you, and you want to kick his ass. Let's see what Barbara Walker has to say about what's going on. That's it. So I need to take these suckers out of bags. And I need to put them in my car. Cool. Got it. Okay. That's where Barbara Walker wants to be. She does not want to be in my house. She wants to be out and about and offer wisdom to people who need her. I still think I should study her though. I still think I need to study her. All right, and then the last one. I bet this one makes it onto some other people's neglected decks list. My cutie patootie. This is my Squidcake Marseille. Oh, I love the hell out of this deck. I love this deck so much. I love that I can shuffle it. I love its accessibility. I love Marseille as a system in general. I'm not exactly a pro at it, but I like Marseille. I like a clean, nice read with Marseille, and I get a lot of intuitive hits from Marseille, because when imagery is paired back like this, my mind feels like it has the freedom to make whatever interpretations it needs to make, or rather listen to my intuition as it is pulling forth interpretations that are not standard. That's the correct way to say that. I said that wrong. I'm not making up interpretations. I'm listening to my intuition as she is coming up with interpretations. I like this deck. This deck makes me happy. It's one of like 2 decks that's like a more modern deck in my collection. I think it was actually my first modern deck. I oftentimes say that Fifth Spirit is, because I neglect this guy. But this guy is, he's definitely a modern deck. And it's funny, y'all. Like this makes me laugh. Like, it's weird and it's a little bit quirky and it's cute and it's sweet, and I need to find a use for him. Now, I have read this with Goblin Market before, like I had showed you before, and I really liked it there. I know I have some pictures on my phone with some other decks that I paired this with and I enjoyed. I think that this deck needs to come out for a little bit of play. So this is one I might keep out on my reading desk and then just start trying to like match it with like this thing and that thing and another thing, because I think that I want to pair it with some other decks first. And then when I feel like I'm back into my study zone and I can like go reread the copious notes that I took about Marseille, then I can kind of use this independently. but I think I kind of want to ease myself in by using other decks with it first. This is cute. I do not want to see this deck on next year's version of this list, like at all. Like if there's any decks that I showed you this year, it's Tabula Mundi and then this one that I need to make sure are not on that list next year. It makes me so sad to see it here, but you know, we fall in and out and that's normal. All right, so Squidcake Marseille, a good one to close it with because it's just a good deck. I did it again. It's a good deck in general. All right, I'm tired. I am totally tired. So I am going to hop off. Hopefully this narration was not too crazy. I don't even know if I'm going to clean it up and editing. It is what it is. Y'all get it. So thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate y'all. If you like this video, please give it a like. I really appreciate that. Give me a comment if you have any of these decks that you really, really love. I would love to hear other people's experiences with them because sometimes other people have kind of like unlocked the deck and I just need to hear your point of view. So thank y'all so much and I will see y'all next time.